Now the problem is there's a 50% increase in cancers for people who take 1 aspirin a day. So it's really not a good idea to take 1 aspirin a day. If you're really smart about it, you just eliminate the buildup of arachidonic acid, your body won't produce what's called prostaglandin 2s, and you're not going to have the increase in pain, inflammation, and histamines. So, how do you do that? Type of foods produce the most arachidonic acid? Pork is number 1. Shellfish is number 2. And animal fat that are the commercial meats that have been given the toxins, they've been given the antibiotics, they've been given the hormones, and they're grain-fed. When they're grain-fed, it's toxic to their body. They store it in their fat like we store toxins, and then we eat that, and it produces an inflammatory response. So, I have a patient that comes in. Dr. J, I got these horrible, horrible allergy problems. And I tell them my story on how chiropractic completely eliminated my allergy problems and headaches and dizziness. And they're like, hey, let's do this. And then 3 months into it, they're still having allergic responses and they're still having all the same symptoms that they started with. Well, we sit down and we talk about their meals, and there is definitely a patient that I am thinking about. And I said, well, like, for example, one day I adjusted her and she came in the next day and she was horrible, in pain, nose all stuffed up, she could barely talk. What'd you do last night? Went to dinner. Where'd you go? Red Lobster. Not kidding. Red Lobster. So she had tons of shellfish, tons of fat, and then afterwards she had dessert. And her dessert produced a lot of inflammatory arachidonic acid, and then she felt so good afterwards, guess what she did? She had a smoke. She had a cigarette afterwards. So everything she did produced pain and inflammation. And then the eggs on here too are the eggs that are non-organic eggs. Again, if these chickens, if they're not taken care of, they'll produce the same type of fat. So just get the organic eggs, try to get some good clean meats, and no pork, and you'll be all right. Now, to counteract that, omega-3s, the same way, need zinc, mineral, B vitamins. They produce something called prostaglandin 3s. The omega-3s will always beat arachidonic acid. So the more omega-3s you take, you will beat them and you will stop that conversion. If you happen to do bad and you had shellfish and you had pork and you kind of had a lot of desserts, what you can do is there's something called EPA and DHA that bypasses the conversion of the prostaglandin 3s or the omega-3s, and it'll still make the prostaglandin 3s. So you can kind of cheat and take those. So you'll probably those, you see omega-3s, they'll have these names on them. But the problem with these is they're blood thinners. So you don't really want to take a lot of them on an everyday basis, especially if you have blood type of problems. So anyway, just kind of wanted to run that by you just so you know a lot of food cause the pain and inflammation that you're having. So again, the plan. So let's kind of tie this all together for you, make some sense out of it. The plan, again, 1% better over time. The only thing as far as elimination, we've got to try to eliminate the pop, and iced tea, it was for me too. Fast food, coffee. Anything that's an artificial stimulant, even ginseng and those type of things. You don't want to artificially pump up the body because it's just going to crash back down. Let's add some water, get that body weight divided in half. Every day, I drink 3 33-ounce containers of water, and sleep. Even on a stress management workshop, we talk about sleep. Put in that 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Now, first thing also, let's reduce the amount of carbohydrates per meal. So if you step back and look, even when you have a steak dinner, most of the stuff that you're eating or putting into your body is carbohydrates. So if you think about it, you might start with a salad. The dressing you put on there is sugar and fat. So you got the carbohydrates. And then you have a steak, but then you're going to have probably baked potato with it, right? Carbohydrate. And usually we're going to drink pop or something like that. So you have carbohydrate. And then we have some type of dessert afterwards, which is carbohydrate again. So most even, I had steak last night and I was still really tired and felt horrible. Well, what else did you eat with it? make sure that you're still minimizing the amount of carbohydrates on it. Now this is the biggest thing that I've been really hammering, is cut your portion size in half. If there's one thing you get out of today, cut that portion size in half. Prevent those free radicals from being produced. If you just do that, first of all, you're going to lose weight, number one, because you're putting less calories in, so you don't even really have to get too fancy with all the meals and all the things you make. But cut the portions in half. The tricks that I do is I'll just tell them when I go out, put half in a box. So I'll just either box half of it, or my wife and I will split a meal. I mean, there's no need for these huge portions of food. Eat a half an apple right before you go, especially if you go out to eat a half an apple. What it'll do, it'll satisfy that carbohydrate sugar craving. It actually, the fiber is really good, but it expands in your stomach too, in your digestive system, so you're not as hungry. So that's that.
And water too, right?
Yeah, and we'll drink the water.
Drink the water like a half an hour before.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Another key point, this will save you $700 right here. It takes your body 15 minutes to realize you're full. The reason I say that is because the dentist was making a ton of money. They made this thing that you put in your mouth that when you eat, they were selling for $700, and these people were losing tons of weight. The reason why they were losing weight, it was hard to eat with this thing in their mouth. So then they took them a longer time to eat, so then they were full, and then they didn't eat as much. So what I do is you eat slower, but wait 15 minutes, and then see if you're still hungry. So, I always tell you guys, I have a big brother. He's a monster. He's a 6'5", 260-pound monster who eats like, fast. So when I was a kid, I would try to eat fast, because if he was done first, he would eat my food. So, we got this habit of, eating. Everybody laughs at me because I still kind of have the habit of like covering up my plate, thumbs up, everything's real protective. So I got to like slow down when he's not around. If I see him though, I still kind of get that, I got to eat. But, you eat slower and wait 15 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll have that mixed nuts, this little package, mixed nuts, and I'll eat whatever portion I want, and I'll just kind of slowly snack on those, because you see that big plate of spaghetti, you're going to want to eat more. You're like, I'm not full, that's not enough. Go ahead, take off, so you're going to go earlier. So 15 minutes later, 90% of the time, you're not going to be hungry afterwards. I'll see you, my man. All right. Let's see. So we talked about as far as the more energy the bigger the meal is, the more energy you're going to have to actually be used to try to digest that. Add snacks every 3 hours. Most recent change again that I did was start to switch the carbohydrates more to the morning and those proteins later on in the evenings. Foods. Now the foods that you really got to reduce and avoid. Food additives, colorings, flavorings, and preservatives. Again, they're all toxic. I have not had fast food in, 8 years. I have not been to a Wendy's, Burger King. I will not mention White Castle because I have a lot of patients that work for White Castle, so I can't say anything about them. But definitely don't go to McDonald's, Burger King, or Wendy's. They're actually considered, it's pretty interesting, they're actually considered empty calories. What empty calories means is they're so toxic and so hard for your body to digest that it takes more energy to digest those foods than the energy production you get out of eating them. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to lose weight, so it doesn't mean eat more, you're going to lose weight, because it's still all stored as, it's still your body has to absorb, the fat has to absorb those chemicals, and then you still can't break those down or lose them, but you get no energy benefit that's going to help you fight off cancers and heart disease. You're not going to have any of that if you eat those type of foods. A lot of the overconsumption of animal products. Make sure you use the organics. White foods, pasta, and breads. Anybody know how you make bread? What is bread? Flour and water. What's glue? What's glue? Flour and water. Okay, just keep that in mind. Whenever you're eating that, it's literally paste, it's literally glue that sticks to the walls of your arteries. So your body has a hard time digesting it.